welcome to Seeing Scarlet. It is Shelby with Tyler here on a Monday to recap all things Texas Tech soccer. We had some high moments this week, Tyler. They went up to Santa Clara and got a really big resume road win. Very exciting. We're going to go through all of that. And then a little bit of a hangover loss perhaps on Sunday. We'll try to break that down for you. A little confusing stuff. But most importantly, we got quotes from Coach Stone himself. Even the opposing coach on Thursday, we have a quote from him as well. So you can hear from them what they think happened in both of these games. And then big one on Thursday at home. This team has started on the road. They've been a little bit of road warriors. 3 of their first 4 games of the year have been on the road, but they're back in Lubbock on Thursday against an ACC opponent in SMU. Yes, they are in the ACC. It's a good soccer program conference, and SMU's in there now, so they're trying to build up that talent on that team. And y'all can watch them in person, help this team get right back on track. Everything they want to do is still in front of them, and it starts back on Thursday. So Tyler's got a pitch for you with all the marketing fun on Thursday. Let them know.
Yes, so yeah, your Red Raider soccer team is coming back at home, and honestly, we're just gonna treat this game like it's their home opener because let's be real, the last one it was raining, there wasn't a lot of people there, and I know that we can do so much better, and this
Pack it
will
out.
be the first time that y'all will get to see them up until Utah State, which is September 14th. So it'll be a while again.
Oh my
So be
God.
there Thursday. It's going to be red out game, so wear red. Please show up in red. We ask that you show up in red. You will receive, y'all are going to get a sneak peek, the stick-on phone wallet. So, you can put all your cards, your IDs in it, and then you can also, just stick it on anything you want, record things, whatever you want.
Snazzy.
So, yeah, first 250 fans get that. Students, if you're listening, we are Raider Riot is going to be putting together a student tailgate. We'll have food, we'll have games, and then we'll have a raffle for y'all as well. And if you show up in red, you also get an extra raffle ticket, and you can win an iPad, a backpack, and a Walla water bottle or a Lego set. We have all things. So please show out for our red out game. We are super excited to take on these ponies, and let's beat them up and show who's boss.
Let's go. First chance for Raider Riot to really do their thing at soccer. I know that's a new thing
Yes.
where they're coming into soccer and some other sports. It's not just basketball anymore. And students, y'all started y'all classes today, right, Tyler?
Yep.
So they're all back on campus. So that's cool. Y'all are having a tailgate. So there should be a good showing because what students don't love good food, like free food at that,
Exactly. Yes.
and they're
For
going to
sure.
see soccer. So yeah, I'm excited. That's hype. Can't wait to see that. Maybe I'll go snap some pictures or something. So yeah, go to the game on Thursday. Get there early. Find a seat if you can. If you can't, bring your lawn chair, sit on the other side, or stand. I actually much prefer the other side of the field myself to
Yeah.
watch
You
anyway.
get all the
But
action. You can hear all the
that's what we'll
action.
be. We'll be rolling around on the other side probably. I will at least. Come say it.
Yes.
All right, Tyler. So we had 2 games, kind of hinted or summarized them in the beginning of this. I think biggest thing is you saw what this team can be. Not their best in either game, to be honest, and they'll be better. I think Tom said after the game will be better in a month from now for sure. But it was a big win against Santa Clara. You kind of saw what they're capable of, but then you also saw how easy it is to lose a game you shouldn't if you're not fully locked in on Sunday. It's still early though. I said that last week. Like I don't really get too high or low about wins or losses, and this is why it's like, oh, okay, yeah, this happens sometimes. Doesn't happen a lot for Texas Tech soccer where you question like what is going on, like we did on Sunday, like the energy and the toughness or the grit. I think is what Coach Stone said wasn't there, and that was weird. And we'll talk a little bit more about that. But my biggest takeaway about the Sunday game is like it's only a problem if it happens again. I choose to believe
Yes.
that will not happen again. So that was weird. That's just not very atypical of Texas Tech soccer. Um, they learn from it, they move on. But we'll get into a little bit more of what happened there. But on Thursday, they gritted out a win. They showed that grit, that Texas Tech grit. Started fast, got it done, and they were doing what they do this year. They're still 14th in the country in team assists, even though they didn't score a goal on Sunday. So they obviously had no assists on Sunday either, and they're still 14th in the nation. So those are some quick takeaways to start before we break it down. But what about you, Tyler?
No, definitely. I think that fast starts is what's going to be key. That's what I said last week. It worked for us in Santa Clara because Santa Clara ended up, I felt like, taking kind of more control of the game, if you will. I mean, we led the entire time, but it seemed like they were getting better opportunities in that second half than we did. But we had a big enough lead to where, we could kind of sit comfortably ish and to the point that we could win. Now, San Francisco on the other half, I think, yeah, definitely the intensity was just uncharacteristic on that end. So it's just finding some consistency for this team. As you said, it's early. There's a lot of things that we still have to figure out. San Francisco was our first like 10 a.m. morning game of the year on the West Coast. We haven't been playing at home. We've just been on the road. I don't know what it is that happened, but yeah, definitely I agree. We just need to start getting healthier. It's still early, and we just got to work on quite a bit of things if we want to go into the conference and really try to take over and run the top of it.
Yeah, I think one of the hardest things in sports that people maybe don't realize as fans, or like the trickiest part, is dealing with this exact scenario that happened to this team right here. Is the high of winning a game on Thursday, you still have to play 2 days later, and they couldn't quite get up for that game for whatever reason, but now they have to deal with the defeat of that because they have another game in 3 days, 4 days later. Like, that is really the mental side of it. Y'all know that I talk about that all the time, but that really is like the hidden kind of part of building a championship team, and this team has a chance to bounce back and do that. So just because of what happened on Sunday doesn't mean you ignore what happened on Thursday. They should still be proud of that. It still is a big resume building win. It still is something that should come up for them in November when they're trying to become a seeded team, when they're trying to host, like this Santa Clara game likely will be on their best wins of the season, because you hope Santa Clara goes and does what they normally do, maybe wins the West Coast Conference. They're a postseason team, and you'll have them on a team that you beat on the road. Like, that's a big win. There was a lot of people talking about you after that game. Everyone was, oh, okay, Texas Tech soccer. That's what we saw on Thursday. So let's get into that first before we get into the second game. They won 2-1. Tyler mentioned it too. They came out quick. Very quick. Historically quick. If we listen to Jerry Smith, who was a Santa Clara head coach, who's been there 39 years. We talked about him last week. He's coached some really great players of the years. They've won national championships. And he said, we just weren't ready for Texas Tech's fast start. I think that was the fastest goal we've probably ever taken in Santa Clara women's soccer history. He said, I think it was 15 seconds in. I think it was about 17 or 19 seconds officially. But he said, credit Texas Tech. They're a well-coached team, a lot of good players. They're number 16 up front. I can see why she scores so many goals. She's really hard to deal with. That would be Taylor Strzeski, who scored the second goal of the game off of a Peyton Parsons assist. So, yeah, they came out firing. I think it was Macy Blackburn up to Alana Harry. Alana Harry over to Peyton Parsons, who snuck past their back defender, and the goalkeeper kind of made a risky decision. She either had to come out and get it or not, and she chose to come out and get it, and Peyton beat her to the ball and got it in at the 17-second mark, I think it was. I think the box score says 19 seconds, but when the clock literally says 17 seconds on it, so I don't know how they got 19, but whatever. Great start. Alana Harry on the board. We said last week she was kind of the last forward that didn't have an assist at a point yet in a game, an assist or a goal. She got one, so that was fun to see. Peyton keeps just doing what she does. And Z had like 5 shots in the first like 10 minutes of the game or something absurd. And one of those was eventually the one that she scored on. So just relentless right out of the gate, punched them. And then Santa Clara had to work on climbing off the mat and getting back into the game, which they absolutely did in this game. And they kind of took it to us for a while. But we were able to hold our own and keep them off the board to at least tie it later in the game. So there were some concerning things in that game for sure. Like, they were really bringing it at you, and they beat our back line a couple of times, but then, Faith made a save or whatever. But that's also soccer. Like, you're going to play really good forwards this year in the Big 12 who are going to beat you at times, and you're going to need your goalkeeper to make a big save. And she was up to the task in that game. And then you had other times where our center backs, Molly made a slick little sliding tackle save on block on a shot. I saw Emily McCartney do the same thing. There was a time later in the second half that Peyton and Kylie were kind of like caught in kind of like a switch, I would call it. No, it's basketball terms, but it felt like they were like screening each other. Like a screen and roll was happening, but the soccer version. And yes. Instead of switching on that, Kylie literally waved off Peyton Parsons and said, no, you go get that girl. I want her. The girl with the ball. And it was the one that had scored. And I thought that was really cool because that's who Kylie is. She's like, no, I got her. And she forced her kind of off the ball. So you saw their toughness, I believe is what Tom said after the game. He said that backline hasn't played together until this season. The midfield group hasn't played together in 2 years. That's a pretty good effort to show that we could close out a game against a team that had a lot of momentum, and I couldn't be happier for them. The early season wins were going to be better in a month. Santa Clara's going to be better in a month, but for now, we got out of here with the win, and we couldn't be happier about it. Yeah, and I think that's kind of it. Like, it wasn't a perfect game, but you beat a good program, and you really did look great in those first 20 minutes especially, and then you hung on from there.
Yeah, no, you definitely did look great. in that first half. I mean, we outshot them 11-7. We definitely outdid them in the corner kicks and all of that. And then it just wasn't until kind of the second half where, things kind of got just a little bit sluggish. We got outshot 8-7 in that, it looks like. Corner kicks were about even. And then the oddest thing that this team kind of did this week, that kind of got weird in this Santa Clara match was the offsides calls. I mean, we had 4 in the first half and 5 in the second half. So we had 9 offsides calls, and then Santa Clara only had 1. So I don't know why that was a thing. It came up in the San Francisco game as well. I don't know why it's that large of a difference and what's going on with that, but it just seems like they can't seem to catch a break, because I mean, it's some pretty soccer that's going on, and then we get goals taken back, or they're like, oh, offsides, and then we can't get anything going. So I don't know how you fix that. I'm no soccer expert, but it was just weird because it was just a this week thing, and you were just sitting here like, I don't know if it's West Coast Conference soccer that they are like, I don't know, they're just not getting the positioning right. It's just kind of odd to see that stat happen. But that's definitely something we need to work on.
Yeah, for sure. We also had a goal taken away last week against Youngstown because of an offsides call. So
Yes.
there wasn't as many, but I tend to think it's early season timing stuff. But yeah, it's a question I have as well if we get a chance to talk to the team about it. But hopefully it clears itself up. But we are a very aggressive team, and we play, our outside backs get up a lot more than other teams do. And we're sending those balls over the top, and that takes such precise timing, and It just didn't seem like we had the timing right for whatever reason. So we definitely need to get that cleaned up because it did keep us from scoring a couple of times and has taken 2 goals off of the board, a really big one in the next game, as we'll get into it. But first, let's show you the highlights from Santa Clara. I'm going to click pause. We don't have sound on this, so we'll just talk over it. But this is that ball across from Alana Harry to Peyton Parsons. Like I said, the keeper just came out. And Peyton was there. I mean, it says 17 seconds on the clock, but the box score will say it was at 19 seconds. Make it make sense. Yeah, hype. I mean, if you're going to come out and punch people like that quick, it is hard for them to recover. We've scored, at that point, we scored 2 in the first game. In the first 10 minutes, 2 in the second game, or 1 in the second game and 2 in this game. So we had 5 goals in the first 10 minutes in our first 3 games of the year. I mean, 17 seconds is absurd, Tyler.
Yeah, I mean, just so quick. They didn't have time to, blink.
Yeah. And then here, 3 minutes later, this is Taylor almost scoring off of this. She probably should have, right?
Wow.
Goes off the crossbar, and she's mad at herself. They show another replay here, how close that was. That was a great strike. Peyton gets it. This is a great pass from Peyton. She gets an assist for this. And Kate gets it right over to Z, who boxes that girl out and says, I'm not missing this time. You're not going to give Taylor Strzeski 2 chances within 20 seconds and expect her to miss both. Just not going to happen. So good for her. That was her 4th goal of the year. And like the Santa Clara coach said, she was causing them problems all game, especially the first half. And they made some adjustments in the second half to, I don't know if they put more bodies on her or what, but they changed a few things. But in the first half, I mean, that's the physicality we were missing in the Sunday game, if we're being quite frank. And that's why it's so confusing when we get into that game, because this team is not weak. This team does not get bullied. So that's why I'm still baffled as to what happened on Sunday, because you see them do stuff like that. I'm like, that's Texas Tech soccer, you know what I mean? Then Santa Clara took it to us for a while, but that's also great defense, right? Kate got beat, but she didn't panic, and she's like, okay, I'll just push her to the sidelines. Molly jumped down, gave that girl a tiny little angle of where she could shoot it, and Faith was there to make the save. That's great team defense. As Tom said before, this team will go as far as the team defense goes. There was nowhere for her to shoot that ball.
Nowhere.
As long as Faith does her job there, you're getting out of that okay. So it looked dangerous at times, but they recovered well. Raleigh Greason, she's going to be so good, Tyler.
Yes. Wow.
She's so fast. I didn't realize she was this fast. She runs down every ball. And people look like they're in, mud when they're next to her. She just ran past that defender like it was nothing. And once she gets a little bit better in that final third and the finishing aspect and more comfortable with the speed of the game, I mean, look out. I think they tipped that. Otherwise, that was headed to upper corner there. She had a chance.
For sure.
We got a corner out of that. See, again, that's a good hack, but that's an easy save, really, for Faith. Faith was really good in this game. She made a number of really good saves that probably other keepers don't make, and so Santa Clara was getting a little bit frustrated. Not necessarily this one, but she has a couple of others that are really good. And they're probably like, what else do we got to do, you know? Breakaway for who else? Raleigh Greason. Again, I like the idea. I like the idea. I don't think they gave us a corner off that, but she was trying to do what she did in the San Diego game where she went upper 90 in that same exact spot. So she was great. You know, I think they just send her out there to be a menace, and she says, okay, I can be a menace, coach. She goes out there and wreaks a little bit of havoc and then comes out for a break. But she's going to be a fun player. We might need her more and more as the season goes on, to be honest.
For sure.
Great ball from Macy up to Alana. This was another chance. I think she just barely misses this left wide of goal. But, like, that was a pretty good hack from far out. Yeah, that's easy stuff from. So, like, they were getting down there, and then you notice how many people we had back. Like, they were going to have to make the perfect shot against our defense in this. So, like, we really were recovering well and communicating well in this game against a relentless attack there in the second half from Santa Clara. So, like, she went between our legs there to even get that off. And that's the end of the game, I believe. Yeah. So that's that. We don't get to see Santa Clara's goal, but Faith even made a save on the goal that they actually made. She saved the initial shot, just bounced off of her, and the girl snuck in there and toe poked it in behind. So some things to clean up. I'm not the one to say what those are, but certainly at times you're like, okay, yeah, like this in a month or two from now, that ball will be cleared out of there probably before they get a chance to shoot that. But they got the win. And like I said, I do think that'll be a win that will help them come November when they're trying to get a good seeding in the tournament. And that's what this team cares about. We've talked about it before. They're not talking about the Big 12 tournament championships and stuff. Like that stuff comes along with it. These games matter because they want a good seed. So, yeah, I mean, exciting win. I was on vacay, but like hype. I was in the car watching it, screaming in the backseat of the car because the game had just started and we had already scored. And they're like, what is wrong with you, Shelby? I was like, we just scored 17 seconds in. And then like 2 minutes later, I was like, we just scored again. Like, it was hype. So, yeah, that was a good start to my vacay, even though my friends and family thought I was psychotic, but they already know that I am. So that's fair. So thank you, Texas Tech Soccer, for that. But yeah, a big win. First time ever playing Santa Clara. I did learn a little bit of the backstory about watching the show. Last week I was wondering what the backstory was. Apparently Tom Stone and Jerry Smith are friends. They go way back.
Oh,
in the
okay.
soccer world.
Makes
Knew each
sense.
other from Tom Stone's days in Colorado. That's where he started coaching, and he was there as well. So they've known each other for a while, so a lot of respect there. And if you don't want to believe us that this team has a lot of talent on it, Jerry Smith has been at this for a while, and he's saying that about our team being a tournament team. He sees it. They just got to play that way every game. So if you have any final thoughts, then we'll move into the game where we didn't go as well. But, you know.
Yeah. Definitely was a good resume building win. I definitely think it's going to be helpful for us going in it, especially knowing what ended up happening yesterday. Definitely we needed that win, and I'm glad that we were able to get it. And again, I'm glad we were able to do the fast starts, and Peyton and Z were able to do what they do, and Raleigh just looking really great as a freshman. And as you said, she's definitely, I think, going to have even a bigger role than what she's kind of, trinkling in there to help us out a bit. So, I mean, there's a lot of good things that came out of that. You wish we could have probably finished it a little bit cleaner and a little bit better, but I mean, a win is a win, and we're going to take it.
3 points in the end. That's all that matters. So
yeah, they
got it done in that game. Then it went into San Francisco, which they ultimately lost 2-0. If you watch the game, it was really a 1-0 loss for the whole game, but it will read 2-0. San Francisco got a late goal in that one. We had everybody push forward trying to get a draw out of it at least. And so they had a breakaway goal, and Faith was in pretty good position and forced them to kick it, shoot it off the post, and then somehow it went off the side of the post in. Credit their striker was really good, but yeah, it just wasn't Texas Tech soccer. It reminded me a little bit of the Penn State game last year where we were just flat, and I think I said on that show, it just wasn't Texas Tech soccer that you're used to. But in that game, I kind of understood why, because Macy wasn't playing, Kylie wasn't playing, Sam had just gotten injured for the season 2 days before that game. Basically, you kind of understood why the team would be flat. I don't understand why they came out flat in this. I'm not gonna lie. I can't really. There's no excuse that I just can't come up with an excuse for it. But what I love about this team is what their coach said afterwards was when we don't usually get outdueled in the air. They played good defense, and they didn't hurt themselves. When that is combined with one of the worst performances I can remember from a Tech team in a while, it was a recipe for disaster. This team was characteristically not gritty enough today. That is usually our trademark. Maybe this is a reminder how important that intangible is. You shouldn't need that reminder, but possibly it's done just that. Like, that's not harsh at all. That's just the truth. And if you put a mic in Macy Blackburn's face or any of the captain's face after that game, they would have said the same thing. And that's why I love Texas Tech soccer, and that's why Sunday was so confusing, is because they hold themselves to that standard. And it just wasn't there. And it doesn't mean there wasn't good moments. Like, there was great moments of soccer mixed in. These are great players. But it was just, there was a lot more moments where they didn't win those 50-50 balls, those headers. We were making passes like that. We were not connecting on passes. There was another game with 5 offsides or whatever it was. They were trying to do combinations, and we would pass it, and there would literally be nobody there, and the ball would just go out of bounds. We just weren't on the same page. And I felt that way watching it, and I watched it on replay. So I'll kick it over to Tyler in a second and let him give you the true live reaction take to this game. So I already knew that we lost when I was watching the game. And it's still, the energy felt weird, but I was like, oh, it's probably this stream, because the stream was really bad. We don't even have highlights because, like, they're just ants on there. And I was like, maybe it's just the stream. So I don't want to comment on an intangible like that because I don't really know. And I can't really see it. But then when Tom Stone said it after the game, I was like, okay, so that really was what was going on. Just the energy was weird. Just you can't do that. But again, it's not a problem unless it becomes a problem as in it's repeated. And I think this team will just use it, hopefully, as a learning tool, and they'll move forward from it.
Yeah, like you said, just from the jump, it was just really weird. Like, it seemed like our energy was off. San Francisco, I mean, all credit to them. They came to play. They wanted it more, it seemed like, and that just was something that you don't see with this Texas Tech soccer team. And there were moments where, all right, after the first maybe 15 to 20 minutes, we were taking back our control, even though it was 0-0. But then Chloe went down with an injury.
That was a big loss, yeah.
Yes, it was a big loss, and it seemed to kind of affect us because then after that, there was just a crazy goal. It looked like that Faith had it, and then it bounced off of her and just rolled into the back of the net on that first goal. And as Tom said in his quotes in the post game, he said, "Yeah, usually they never give up that first goal. That first goal does not happen usually." So it was just weird off energy. And then we thought we had an equalizer from Eleanor Hayes off of, I believe, a corner kick, and then they called it offsides.
It was a deep free kick from near
deep free kick.
Midfield from Macy.
Okay.
Great ball.
Yes, it was a great ball. I mean, it was placed perfectly, and you thought that we had it, but no, thought it was offsides, and then I didn't know necessarily if it was going to be offsides. They reviewed it, and then they said that they didn't have enough evidence to overturn it. It was just something that was kind of, up in the air, but you really wish you had that. And then we had decent opportunities that we definitely could have done on, but that goalie was just, it seemed like she was just at the right place at the right time. Yes, they were all in the box. San Francisco had a lot of people in the box, and then we just couldn't. Couldn't get anything going. I will say the freshmen, Emma Torres had a lot of great moments in this. Raleigh had some great moments in this, so they needed to step up when they could, and they tried on what they could do. But I don't know. It's just definitely a weird game where it just seemed like we had our moments of taking control and that we were the number 18 team in the country, but then there were other moments where we were just like, I don't know what's going on. But credit to San Francisco, they definitely showed up and they wanted it more. And then that one player just definitely, I don't even know. Zapadou, very good. Zapadou, whatever. Yeah.
Forward's good, yeah. She puts a lot of heat on the ball. Like, even the goal that we don't normally give up, like, I still don't know what happened because the angle is hard to tell if Faith jumped earlier. But she struck it really well. Like, the pace was really good, but it wasn't really placed that super dangerously. But it did bounce off of Faith's hand somehow and went in. And it was just a weird one from the jump. The stream was weird, and to the goal that we gave up was weird. And I don't know if it was this thing of, they've been scoring. Like I said, they had 5 goals in their first 3 games in the first 10 minutes. And after they didn't score in the first 10 minutes, were they like, oh, now what? Like, I don't know if there was a little of that going on, that they met a team that kind of met their intensity out of the gate and they didn't react to that well or what. But I would expect other teams to try to challenge them in that way. I think that's the thing of, hey, if you're going to put that stuff on tape, you have to expect another team. Maybe not SMU. I don't know. Teams that feel like they can't match up with you talent-wise are going to see the San Francisco game and say, hey, San Francisco beat them by bullying them because they had like 17
Mhm.
fouls and they were pressing. I mean, if the ref was calling the game tighter, that wouldn't have been allowed, right? But he was allowing it, and they were tackling us hard, and we weren't like we would retaliate and go right back after them after a foul, and then we get called for what we thought was a foul but wasn't called a foul, and then we'd go right
Right.
back at them with the same intensity and the same physicality. But of course, it's a retaliation at that point. So then they called the foul on us, and then we got frustrated. And Tom kind of said like their plan was to frustrate us, and we'd not necessarily beat us, and then we allowed that to beat us. And that really is what happened. So other teams are going to try that, you know, if they don't feel like they can match up talent wise. Because soccer is kind of, we've talked about this before, but soccer is one of the teamiest of team sports that there are. Like,
For
you
sure.
can have the best player in the country on your team and still not be a good team if you have too many weak links in the chain around you. Texas Tech soccer is usually good and beats people because every chain, or like every link in that chain is pretty solid. But on Sunday, for whatever reason, some of your normally strongest links were weak, and San Francisco was just strong. And so it doesn't matter how good this pass was, this pass, well, it got to that weak link and then it fell apart. And the next time they would win a ball. So yeah, it just wasn't their best day, and that happens. Like, it was their first chance to play, like you said, an early game. Sunday games, like Tom said, are a lot of times harder than Thursday games, no matter who the opponent is, just physically. We have a lot of players coming off of injury that haven't played in a while. They haven't played this many minutes back to back. I understand all those things were at play. I get it. Like, so I understand that
Mhm.
part of it. I understand why their passing might have been a little off because of that. Their muscles are a little tighter on this day than they're used to. Like, that stuff doesn't work the same as it would if they're loose and all that. All that stuff doesn't surprise me. It was the fact that they were losing the 50-50 balls. They were losing the headers. There
Yes.
was no one hard tackling. Like, if Chloe Soto was in this game, Chloe Soto, or Honey Badger that's out for the season, right? She would have been out there, like, the first time that Santa Clara hard tackled one of her teammates in the first 5 minutes that they were doing, because they came out like, oh, we're going to set the tone. Chloe would have said, oh, absolutely not. Like, she would have hard tackled the shit out of someone the next time down. Legally, she would have done it. Maybe they would have given her yellow. She would have done something to be like, we're here too. And there was no one really doing that for us. And that was weird, because that's not Texas Tech soccer.
Very weird.
And again, I couldn't tell. Maybe it was happening, but the stream was a little foggy. But then when Tom kind of echoed that after the game, I was like, okay, so like what we were feeling watching it was probably true. And in some ways, that's comforting, because it's like, well, that's not going to happen again, because that's just it wasn't a tactical thing. They weren't better than us. They weren't doing something like, oh, we couldn't figure it out. It was simply we weren't bringing our usual toughness and grit. Show up and play Texas Tech soccer, and you'll be all right. Because like, even if you were making bad passes in this, you were just off because of being tired. As long as you bring the grit, you probably get out of there at minimum with the draw, and then it's really not that, as big of a thing. Like, it happens. BYU just drawed with, who was it, Cal Poly on the road,
Yeah.
and then they beat number 4 UCLA on Saturday. We drew with New Mexico in the 2023 year. Like, it happens sometimes in those games, but we couldn't even get out of there with a draw because we just couldn't even grit our way to a goal. So it was a weird one. And I thought, oh, this is just me watching because I'm in a car or whatever, but it just sounds like that was what was going on. And you can't allow that to happen moving forward. As I said at the beginning, it really doesn't affect them. What it hurts them with more than anything is they have these big goals, right? This is a team that talks about wanting to break records. They have a standard that they want to achieve and all that. And if they want to do those things, you can't afford to lose one of these games, but they've already done that, so they can't anymore. So their margin for error is kind of slim now when it comes to wanting to host in the tournament. Doesn't mean they can't still break records if they're not hosting. Just makes your life easier. So that was really what this game was. Is like, okay, you took 2 steps forward with a big resume win on Thursday, and you kind of just took those 2 steps back with the loss on Sunday. So you're going to have to make up for it down the road, but doesn't mean you can't. So it's not like it's not that big of a deal unless they allow it to be a big deal. You just made your life a little bit harder, I guess, is all it was. So there's really not much like tactically to like, as if we would have grand breakdowns anyway, but I I'm just like, I didn't see a lot of like what was going wrong, other than it was just stuff we were doing to ourselves. It was strange. So interested to hear what comes out from the team as the week goes on, if they have any media and stuff like that. But most of all, just excited for Thursday because I know the response is going to be there.
Yeah, for sure. And like you said, I mean, this loss does it really hurt this early in the season? Not necessarily, but now, like, SMU, Utah State, they're not going to be cakewalks, right, up ahead, but we are going to have to be able to bring that intensity, maybe get some more confidence when you come back home this Thursday and really kind of bring that energy because, yeah, I mean, energy cannot be something that we are getting outmatched on because knowing this team and knowing the culture around this team and how tight they are, I mean, it's unacceptable to not be able to bring your best out on the game, even on days where it was rough. So yeah, for sure, definitely think things are going to get cleaned up. In a way, it's good to kind of see our flaws because it just seemed like we were just kind of steamrolling opponents, and now we're kind of like, okay, we can take a step back, reevaluate, and reassess before we get into a lot more tougher opponents and play, and then really just see how other teams' tactics that's really hurting us and frustrating us.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we've been a team that's been throwing the first punch and like knocking people out in the first 20 seconds, and that's a great thing to be. But sometimes you need a reminder that to throw the first punch, you actually have to swing, and they were not swinging on Sunday. And I have full faith they're going to be coming out swinging, whether that's goals or just playing tough on Thursday from the jump, and we're going to get that. I'm sure there's some things they'll clean up as well in practice, like the offsides and things that we talked about that were there in both games. Maybe some of those free kicks right outside the box could have been opportunities to make some goals and things like that. There's certainly some actual soccer tactical stuff that wasn't just tangible that can be cleaned up, and they will. But the biggest thing is just play tech soccer and you win that game. Play tech soccer and they win on Thursday.
Yes.
Which is what we'll just dive on into. Tyler already gave you the promotional preview, so they're playing Southern Methodist, SMU the Mustangs, in the ACC now, second year in the ACC. Coming in, I believe they're 3-1 on the season right now. Yeah, their one loss was to Wake Forest, who's a good team right out of the jump. I watched a little bit of that game on opening night. They didn't look terrible from what I saw. I mean, they have good soccer players out there. They lost 2-0 in that game. They hung around for a bit, and then Wake Forest just kind of wore them down and found a way to goals. Their offense is better than their defense for sure, so our backline's going to have to bring it. A little bit of fun family ties in this. Chloe Yopich, who we mentioned, leaving the game on Sunday with an injury, so hopefully she'll get to play in this. That would be great for multiple reasons. Most of all, the team needs her, but second of all, her sister is on SMU, so that's always fun. And she's a starter. Yeah. She started every game this year, so they have little sisters going at it. If she's available to play, we'll find out. And then it's SMU, so a lot of players from Dallas, Austin on the team. A lot of players played with each other in club and travel ball, so there's a lot of familiarity with each other coming into this. But yeah, any overall thoughts on SMU, Tyler, before we get into anything else on them? Some stat breakdowns or whatever you got on them?
Yeah, no, I definitely think that this is going to be a quality, yes, they play in the ACC. They may not be the best team in controlling the top, but it's definitely a good chance to play an ACC opponent and get that through. Yes, I mean, Wake Forest is obviously a very good team. I think they were runner-ups or even national champions a few years ago. They're always competing up there, so that 2-0 loss, it is kind of impressive to see that. North Texas, I don't really know what happened there. I guess UNC's having a good year, 4-3. So, I mean, it does show me that if both offenses go at it, we definitely can take the edge over them for sure. So it'll be kind of interesting to see. But this should be a really, really fun game, especially us going to be our channel, revenge mode and mad mode that we can go on them.
Yeah. Into SMU, again, mentioned them. They're 3-1 on the year, lost to Wake Forest. They beat Northwestern and North Texas and Southern U. They've had two different goalkeepers play at this point. One allowed 5 goals in their first 3 games, but then they used a different one, Haven Empry Taylor, in their last game when they shut out Southern. So we'll either see 1 or 2 of those. We'll find out. They have 2 different players with 2 goals this year. And then Sammy Neves has 3 assists. Some names to watch there. Again, Chloe Yopich's sister is on the team. She's also a defender and a midfielder. Started all 4 games for them. And the Massey ratings, we are 31. We were like 13th before Sunday, so they were loving us. But we're going to get back up there. Down to 31 now versus SMU, who's 62. They give us a 65% chance to win with a 2-1 score prediction. Our offense is ranked 28th. Theirs is ranked 54th. Our defense is also ranked 28th. Theirs is ranked 104th. Our schedule's been a little bit better to this point, 117th, and there's 178th. So that's kind of massy if you believe those, buy into those. Some people love them. Some people think they're a joke, but that's the rankings we have to go off of. I would assume Texas Tech is no longer ranked. They're not ranked in top drawer today. The official rankings for NCAA come out tomorrow. I'm sure they probably dropped out of those as well, but they'll be back in there soon enough. Get a win against SMU on Thursday. Then they have a lot of kind of downtime coming up, which I think is well deserved. They've been traveling a lot. And also when they're traveling, it's not just the travel that hurts you. It's you don't get as much practice time because there's a whole day there where you're traveling and recovery. So they'll be home a lot to get work in, get some of that chemistry down and things that they're working on, get some people healthy, hopefully, and be able to go at it. So no Sunday game this week. Next week when you hear from us, it'll just be the SMU recap and then a preview of, is it New Mexico State, right?
Yes.
I keep getting it confused. New Mexico State.
On the 4th.
That's right. They have played, we'll talk about them more next week, but I think they've played some Big 12 teams, or they will have played Big 12 teams before we play them. So, yeah, that's a chance, and it's at New Mexico State, so a chance to get that road taste out of your mouth from San Francisco, and then a big one back home a week thereafter against Utah State. So only about 3 games in the next 20 days or so for this team, which I think is good. They played a lot of games there to start the season real quick. Now they get to settle in and get better. So, yeah, any other thoughts, Tyler, before we get on out of here?
Yeah, let's get after it on Thursday. Let's get back in the win column, and let's show the country that we're not here to mess around anymore. Tech Soccer is here to bring the intensity, and we're here to break records, and we're just going to forget that San Francisco even happened because we'll make the right adjustments. So we'll know it happened, but
we trust Texas Tech Soccer. I've said that before.
Yes.
So, I'm really not pressed.
If you watched last year and you had your doubts at the beginning of the year, I'm going to admit I was one of them. I no longer doubt the team because last year we miraculously did what we did. So, yeah, they've earned that trust. Tom has definitely earned that trust, and we've known that for years. So, definitely don't be too stressed, Red Raider fans. They'll get it figured out, especially these seniors and Macy Blackburn and all of them. They're not. Yeah,
they're not gonna. Yeah, I'm not worried about it. And soccer this year has been crazy. If you've followed college soccer, Maryland just lost to Old Dominion 2-0 yesterday. Like Old Dominion, and then Texas.
UC lost to Houston,
which I know they're a power conference team, but I'm more shocked that Houston beat Texas 4-1 than Texas lost to Northwestern State. Like somehow in my brain that is more impressive. But that's good for the Big 12. Like Houston has a new coach. So hopefully Houston is getting better. Like we need these programs to get better. The Big 12 has the best winning percentage of any conference after the first 2 weeks of the season in soccer. UCF beat LSU the other day. BYU beat UCLA. TCU beat a top 10 Iowa last week. TCU is up to number 5 in the country in the top rankings today. So the Big 12 is going to give you a lot of opportunities to build your resume. So that's why the San Francisco game, that's what I'm saying. Like it doesn't really matter unless it happens again. And I don't think it's going to happen again. That's on Texas Tech Soccer. So you learn from it, you move on. You have a lot of big opportunity games ahead. And one starts on Thursday because whether they win or not, I don't know. But SMU is going to have a good RPI because they play in the ACC. So you have a good resume chance coming up on Thursday to get it done. Then a Sunday off to recoup and get ready for another Thursday game next week on the road. So that's what I got. Until next week, Tyler. Raegan.